Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Clutter podcast for what is it now? The 4th of March, 2024. Today is going to be more of a conversation than an actual podcast in the traditional sense. Last week, I asked as many people as possible to send me their ideas about what was creating the most frustration for them with respect to not just the fact that there is clutter, but where the clutter is building up and where it remains pretty resistant. Okay, so we're going to start from there. When I looked at pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of chat, thank you very much for taking the time to do that, everyone. I came up with basically 6 areas that I heard over and over again that represent particularly challenging parts of usually one's environment, all right, where you're actually living. Here are the areas. The front hall becoming a drop zone. There are some things that I've noticed over the many years I've done this that I'm going to make some recommendations. Now, they do require a little bit of a lifestyle change and thinking differently. All right, get ready for that. But I think it will yield the success that you're looking for. The second was bedrooms. Bedrooms seem to be the problem area for clothing. When we get to clothing, I want to stick specifically to the clothing that present the problem in the bedroom, not an abundance of clothing if it's housed, effectively or semi-effectively in cupboards. All right. The other thing about bedrooms was some form of reading material or self-care. Right? The third area I heard a lot about either studio, study, office, and basically it was paper, and books. All right. And organization of, did I mention paper? All right. The fourth area were restricted to people who are either artistic or who really enjoy crafts. And that was about the amount and the product storage. So all of the product that is associated with art, and that's plentiful, or crafting, all right? And also, did I mention unfinished projects? Did I mention unfinished projects? Did I mention unfinished projects? But moving on to the next. Okay, and the fifth was kitchen area. Now, kitchen and bathrooms should not be surprising because they are extremely high activity of daily living areas. All right, there are very few other areas in our home other than the kitchen and bathroom, and the bedroom we're asleep for presumably 5 to 8 hours sleep a night, so we're not in those as often. And then 6, the dining room table. Now, not the dining room, but the dining room table seemed to be an immensely popular area for the not yet finished, bordering on drop zone. Okay, when we talked about the kinds of activities that presented a problem, and we will talk about this, mail, the mail was a big issue. And so it should be, because it comes 5 days out of 7, right? So if you didn't handle today's mail, tomorrow's going to complicate it for you. You'll be getting, even if you don't get actual mail, you'll be getting flyers, you'll be getting promotions, you'll be getting all kinds of things. All right. And bill payment, regular bill payment is also an issue. And digital excess, clutter, overabundance, how to organize, how to stay ahead of it rather than, keep adding storage to your electronics. So I'm going to start with some notes that I made. All right, there'll be a certain amount of paper. All right, so one person, I'm not going to say who, I do have your names, so I know who you are, but I'm not going to say the names. One person made what I thought was an interesting but sad comment, and I wanted to start with that. So, as was true for many, many, many of you, this person felt that they can't invite people in. The house is so cluttered and it feels perpetually like it's going to stay cluttered, that there is no end in sight, and socializing, even just having friends in, reciprocating, was like pulling teeth. And then the person also noted that probably, oh, there's that person. Sorry about the noise, people. That even if she got the unit back into shape, probably by this time her furniture wasn't good enough for friends to visit. All right, things, so more than just the clutter has gotten out of control, has gotten beyond what is good enough for having a social life or just inviting friends in. And I thought that was really, really sad, because if you're inviting people in and you consider them friends, the condition of your furniture should be way down on your concern list. And I wonder whether some of what we need to watch about ourselves, first and foremost, is the self-talk. Whether you're talking yourself out of inviting people in because of clutter, or because you're not satisfied, happy, proud, whatever the word would be, of the condition of your furniture, of the layout of the house, whatever it is about your environment, watch the self-talk. All right, because when you're saying things like, my house isn't nice enough to invite people in, regardless of what the factor is that is making you draw that conclusion, basically, you're saying that you're not good enough because you've let the environment go. You've let yourself go socially. Really? The only people that, we bring into our home first and foremost are people who we believe care about us. And if you're making it more complicated than a job you can do, are you really talking about your self-esteem? And I know that when an environment is cluttered and stays cluttered, it does eat away. It does diminish our self-esteem. It does diminish the feeling of competence, the feeling of sort of being in control of our life, maybe this is evidence that our life is out of control. What other things are you saying to yourself that really point the finger at your self-esteem? Because if you have damaged your self-esteem as a result of clutter or something else, if that's what started to erode, when you get things cleaned up, your self-esteem isn't going to suddenly improve. You might be happy for a while, but there'll be something else that you find fault with about yourself. And know that having a cluttered environment eats away at our mental health, all right? And it eats away at our sense of competence, and consequently our self-esteem. So watch that. The reason I'm spending so much time talking about it is because I want you to look at that first and foremost. Because if quietly you are undermining your self-respect and your self-esteem, what you say to yourself about yourself as a person, is that one of the reasons you're not moving forward? Because you've come to believe that at some level about yourself. And so you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. This stuff really has started to become kind of an underlying factor you're not paying attention to. Do you really need to start with ways to enhance and support your self-respect and your self-esteem? Because think about it. How much sense does it make that you're going to take on a difficult job? And it is difficult. It's time consuming. It's fatiguing. It's hard. It's hard work. Why would you take that on if subtly in the back of your mind, you've started to erode your self-esteem and your self-respect? Can you see where you've created possibly a double bind? Okay. Now, there's no amount of clutter that is worth beating yourself up about. You did it and you can undo it. It is a linear process. It is a linear process. This is doable. It isn't doable with a magic wand, however. It's exhausting. It requires decision making. It requires the ability to take a risk. How many people here would actually call themselves a little bit nervous about taking a risk? You might actually let the wrong thing go. Have you ever done that in the past? I've done it. I've done it myself numerous times. It's almost gotten to be a joke. The moment I give this away in 2 weeks, that's the first time in 10 years it's ever going to be required. All right, but you know what? Life goes on. There's always something else I have that will work instead. Or maybe I can borrow it back from the person I gave it to. For that 10 minutes, I'm going to need it rather. Right now, let's start with the assumption that in some way, if that many people wrote that many things about clutter and where it is, and nobody who attended this podcast, nobody wrote just one area that was a problem for them, which means it started to creep. Okay, it started to creep. All right. Is that the truth? Then that's the truth. Now, check this. When you exhale, Do you actually feel a warm breath on your hand? And yet you're still alive. And yet you're still coming, and you're still hopeful, and you're still planning, and you're still chipping away at it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. That's how we learn. And very, very, very few regrets and mistakes, exceptionally few, are irreversible or not workaroundable. We need to have a higher level of risk tolerance. We need that. You can't move forward if you're afraid of making a mistake. The moment you take any action at all, if COVID has taught us nothing, our most basic functions involve risk. Even breathing in these days is a risk. Do you want to stop breathing? Do you want to take another form of maintaining your breathing? Do you want to wear a mask every moment of every day in every circumstance? Maybe just the prudent ones? Maybe just the prudent times? Do you see what I'm saying about risk averse becomes like water? Water spreads and finds its own level. Don't let it occupy the parts of you that need to be functioning. Don't let risk, the fear of risk, do that to you. Otherwise, you can take no action at all. And no matter what you see when you look around you, it is all doable. One step at a time, excuse me, it is all doable. All doable. Okay? Today's a crazy day. I think I'm just going to accept it. All right. We're not even going to try to edit this one. This is like out of control. All right. And so it shall be, and we will persevere. All right. Now, some thoughts I had, general thoughts. Watch the self-talk. Thou shalt not beat thyself up. All right. Because nobody ever accomplished anything that was difficult, even mildly difficult, by feeling less about themselves. All right. Okay. The question to ask yourself is not what's wrong, what are the barriers? You have to identify them, whether it's in your front hall, your bedroom, your office, your craft area, your kitchen, your dining room table, wherever you put the mail. What's the problem? What's the barrier? You have to notice it. All right. But then you have to ask yourself the 3 questions. What are they? What do I need? Where is it? And in this particular instance, how do I get enough of it to make enough of a difference? And of all of that, what will get you there? What is the one thing that will get you moving forward? Getting up, taking a risk are 1 and 2. The other thing too to ask yourself is, what's holding you back? Right now, everybody who's here, I think we've got 31 people here right now. Okay. Everyone, write down at least one thing that really, truly, fundamentally you believe is holding you back. What is it? I'm going to wait. Now, once you know the barriers, you've even started to scope them out, you're aware of them. What will step by step make the difference between you remaining discouraged? What will undiscourage you? What is one step by step? Think of 3 steps in a row. What would step 1 be? To undiscourage you, to unoverwhelm you, to one, get you off being on hold. One thing. And whatever that one thing is, what is the next doable, small, achievable next step? It'll depend on what your first step was. And now let's get a head of steam under us. Step 1, step 2, to being undiscouraged, unoverwhelmed, and not on hold. What is that next 3rd step? And when this podcast ends today, what right now, in a little more than half an hour, one thing right now can you do about the pile, the place that is discouraging you, frustrating you, overwhelming you, defeating you? What is one small thing after this podcast, just one, that you can do to start? Not finish, just start. Because you can't finish if you never start. And you may start 100 times and only do one thing. You'll get it done. If you're not continuing to add to it on a daily basis, you'll get it done. It will not defeat you. There is no reason why it has to defeat you. Something is a barrier. You're not identifying it properly because every barrier, maybe not alone, maybe you need help, maybe you need counseling, maybe you need physical help, maybe you need technical help. What is the help you need? One thing. One thing repeated gets the job done. It is doable. The fact that it's got you on the run right now, okay, is happening inside you. It is not part of the problem. You have digested the problem. You have made it about you. It isn't about you. It isn't about you. You can do this. You know, how many people here are old enough? Put your hand up. To remember wood fires. And you know, with a wood fire and a bonfire, how you have to stoke it to keep it going? What are 3 things that would be effective for you as an individual? And they'll be different for all now 32 people, okay? That would stoke your fire. Because if you think you're going to do this on empty, undiscouraged, unoverwhelmed, ain't happening. That is not realistic. That may be why it hasn't been happening. What are 3 things that would stoke your fire? Write them down. They are specific to you. Some people find absolute quiet, everybody go away. I just do it myself, one thing at a time. Other people many, many, many people, by the way, all right, put yourself in a situation where you have somebody come in who's a friend who knows about the clutter. They just sit there. They just sit there and talk to you while you do it. And that is like magic. You know what? I can't tell you how many people. I can't tell you how many people. Who is that person? Who is that person and what are they doing tomorrow? Hmm? Or some people find music. Right now, usually, you got to watch how loud the music is, but music. Somebody has a raised hand. Hold on just a second. Nora. Nora, do you need to unmute for a sec? Are you there? Did you know your hand was up? Okay. All right. Let's keep going. All right. So we have a little plan, right? Right now, everybody, all 32 people, we have a little plan. After this podcast, based on what will stoke your fire, you are going to look at the area that bugs you the most, and you are going to risk doing one thing. And you are going to watch the self-talk. Nobody is going to say to themselves, well, that didn't really change much. It's not enough. Okay. That is like taking a pail of water and putting the bonfire out. Because truly, I'm not kidding. There are jobs that I have to do where I can only do one thing at a time on a day. And I have, or as a part of a day, and I have to walk away. And then I come back and I do one more thing, and then I walk away. And the more difficult the job, the more likely that's true. Maybe I don't feel competent to do it easily. Maybe it's just a job I hate. All right. But it has to be done. Is that part of what is discouraging you? So many of you, I see counters and things that are covered with stuff. All right. You know what? Start at one end of a counter and put away two things. And later on today, you walk by and you put away two more things. Is that doable? Clothing lying around. All right. We're going to talk about clothing in a minute. All right. So, in fact, we're going to talk about it right now. So, another person mentioned bedroom. Bedroom is a big problem area. Stuff is really built up. There's stuff on one half of the bed. It goes over onto the floor. It's piled. It's taller than they are in that area. It's gotten beyond them. Okay. I have found that the most successful way to manage clothing, well, I'm going to do a little caveat before that. Unless there is some really, really, really good reason why those clothes have gotten dirty or whatever, all right? Consider taking them, if you want to just refresh them, consider taking them and putting them in the dryer and for a while and tumbling them around. Unless they're dirty, please don't make the job any bigger than it already is by convincing yourself because you wore it once, you have to clean it. The only thing that's true with really truly is our underwear. All right. Like, don't make the job any bigger. Whatever those perfectionistic thinking patterns are, quiet them down. Just quiet them down. All right. And then what I would suggest is maybe on the other side of the bed. maybe on a table, maybe on a floor, even a floor, so long as the floor, you're not walking on them. Take the clothing. I did this with somebody this past weekend. Well, I can pick up one thing. Now, basically, your clothing falls into certain specific categories, right? So don't make it any more difficult than it is. Put your hand on one thing, pick it up. If it's a top, you have a top pile. If it's trousers or pants, you got a pants pile. If it's sweaters, you got a sweater pile. If it's underwear, you got underwear pile. If it's socks, you got socks. If it's pajamas, it's pajamas. Whatever the category is, make a pile. And all you do is put your hand in and pick up one more thing, put it in its pile. Divide it by categories. All right. Don't try picking, if you've got a lot, don't try picking one thing up at a time and hanging it up. You would have to have an immensely different motivational system in order to keep going doing that. All right. But here's the other thing. Every single day when you take your clothes off, they either legitimately go in the wash. The wash is not a default for I don't want to be bothered hanging it up. I'll put them in the wash. That just makes a bigger job. Don't make the job any bigger. All right. So you get this all divided up into into different categories on the bed or on a flat surface. And then you pick one category and you hang up that category. Or you hang up as much from that category as you possibly can, given the time you have. All right. And try the strategy of, when you're starting to get bored and you're starting to think, oh, this is not the way I want to spend my Saturday. Just one more, just one more, just one more. All right. You'll get things done a whole lot faster if you batch them. Here's my experience. My experience is that when you have to start making decisions about different categories and different types of things, it takes a whole lot more bandwidth. We have patterns for different categories. We think differently about different categories of things. Don't be switching your pattern of thinking. If you're putting away tools, it's tools. All right. If you can break it down even further than that, because you got a whacking load of tools that you've got to consider putting away or whatever. And the other thing too is when you're picking up, well, we'll just say tops. Okay. We won't say sweaters or anything. Pick up a top. Okay. And you look at it and you go, would I be happy? Would I be proud to be seen in you? And if you wouldn't, all right, let it go. Let it go. Let it go right then and there. Put it in a bag and let it go. Pick up another one. The question isn't necessarily, do you fit? Because I see mostly women here today, but I do know we have some men. You'll just have to bear with us, guys. When we're looking at something, we know, don't we? The truth is our weight fluctuates up a little and fluctuates down a little, fluctuates up a little, fluctuates down a little. I say, whatever size you are now, up a size and down a size. All right. That's a safe, realistic, livable. If it's beyond that, you're talking an awful lot of weight either way for a size. But the really important thing is, would I actually choose you? Of all of the things I have, would I actually choose you? And when you ask yourself that question and the thing you're looking at isn't something you would choose, you go, and if you're just be guided by your first reaction, all right? Uh, mm, mm, the goes, all right? Is the insurance piece. Let it go. Let it go now. You're letting it go by hanging it in the closet and never getting to it. It's one of the things you have to whip by when you're making choices, but you're never choosing it. It is always the bridesmaid. It is never going to be the bride. Let it go now. Except there is your risk averse tendency playing out. What if? What if? All right. Your life is about more than what ifs. What if you choose something else? You have more than 3 tops, right? You choose something else and just work through your categories. Okay. Yeah. So separate into types. Make the choice as you're picking it up. Would I actually choose you? And if you say, well, maybe I would, ask yourself a second question if you're really hemming and hawing, and that is, why haven't I so far? Why haven't I so far? The chances is you've got 5 or 6 other things that in that type of situation where you'd wear that thing, you're making different choices 5 and 6 times. It's not maybe for the one time that got it into the pile, if it isn't something that you really are looking forward to wearing, don't keep it. Um, yeah. So by holding on to things, by saying things like you have to wash everything every time you wear it, don't contribute to making the challenge that you're feeling any bigger. That's a thought you have, all right? That's a perfectionistic thought you have when you have to wash something or clean something every time it's used. If something happened to it, fine. If it was a sweaty, dirty day, fine. But most of the time, no. You're just giving yourself another job. All right. Arts and crafts. Now, arts, as in painting, like real art, crafts, as in things that are a lot of fun, you're engaged in, you're committed to, it's an activity that, is really exciting for you. Um, I I suggest that a safe zone, consider this, that a safe zone is having one project in the works plus the product that is required, necessary for that one product, because you're only going to work at to finish something, all right? You're only going to work at one thing at a time to finish it. And one in the wings, one in the works, and one in the wings. All right. And if you're doing more than that, look around you. How is it working for you? Isn't that one of the reasons that the clutter has built up? Same thing with reading books. All right. One in the works, one in the wings. And most of the time, the product connected to both of those, because the one in the wings, that's the one that you're kind of scouting out wherever you go somewhere. You're scouting out, would that work for that? It's when you get multiple imaginary projects started in your mind, and then you become so expert at doing that, that what you end up saying to yourself, and how many people here do this, hands up, All right. You see something interesting and you have no plan for that. But then you say to yourself, I could make something out of that. When? Where? I could do something with that. There will, listen to me, there will, if you want your way out of this, there will always be another possibility. When you've got the one in the works finished and the one in the wings moves into be the one in the works, there will always be another wonderful opportunity. And you know what? You're right. It is a wonderful opportunity. I would suggest respectfully that it's not your opportunity, though. You can't grab every possibility that is a great opportunity. That opportunity might actually be better being allowed to someone else. You don't have to grab every great opportunity. All right. Okay. Because this is one of the things I want you to think about. Isn't the point of a project, well, some projects are to enjoy. All right. They're more like a meditation. They're more like a time away from the humdrum of life. But most projects, when you take them on, there is an end date planned, correct? There's an end date when you're expecting to finish the thing. All right. So if the point is to finish it, then as you're approaching finishing, you can only finish one thing at a time. Otherwise, all you're doing is extending out the finish date. Now, maybe for two things, but is there anybody here who has so much extra bandwidth and extra time and energy in their life that beyond having two things you're working on means they're actually going to get finished? How many people here have sweaters or projects that have remained undone, unfinished? How many people here? Hands up. You started a project and it's in a bag somewhere. Okay, I see a lot of hands. Because the thing is, until it's finished and you can enjoy it, all right, you don't have anything. You can do one thing at a time, finish it, enjoy it, start another. Until it's finished, you don't have it. What you have is another undone project. Watch your imagination, apply it to finishing the thing you start. So, one in the works, one in the wings, and that one in the wings, that's where your fun thing really happens, when you can start scoping out of the other things you see, what could improve the end result of the thing in the wings. And trust, again, we're back to risk averse. If you have to grab opportunities as you see them, and you're telling yourself there's something I could do, I could make something out of that, I can see possibilities for that. All right. You're living in an imaginary world when those things don't happen. Okay. You're living in an imaginary world. And if they don't get finished, you still don't have them. If they don't get finished, you still don't have them. And we are not getting, I have numerous times put in for a 30-hour day. And guess what? It's still just 24 hours. All right. I got put on hold. Yeah, her again. Wishful thinking. Okay, so don't overcommit. You also need to allow enough time and energy left over, okay, to live your life, to recognize the positives in today. If you're distracting yourself with things to that, are you avoiding looking at today? Are those projects actually meant to be distractions? What about solving the problems of today so they don't have to be tomorrow's? Is it avoidance? Are all of these projects like somebody running and running and running and running, but the race never ends? Is it? Was that your plan? Was that your plan in the beginning? Because if that's happening, are you using these projects as a distraction from something that really does need your attention? Mhm. Has, have they started? Have the projects started to rule your life rather than you getting to enjoy your life? The other the other thing we have to, when anything gets out of control and excess and it becomes a habitual issue, the one fact of life that we all need to come to terms with is you can't have it all. You can't have it all. I can't have it all. You can't have it all. We can only really have what we can manage. The rest is just surplus. And if you've acquired so much extra surplus that now you can't have people in, you're ashamed of your environment. Some people aren't safe. All right. Mentally, you have to put blinders on. So when you put blinders on, yeah, you are missing seeing the frustration and the challenge. You are, and the negative. You are. But those blinders also keep you from seeing the good and the positives as well, and the enjoyable things, the gifts of the day. And these are free. These are just things that happen. And none of them involve having an electrician who was supposed to be out of here by 10:30 this morning, who's still drilling on the side of the wall. That's not a gift. And we just have to be philosophical about that. I hope nobody's being irritated, as much as I am. All right, so when you have too much on the go, I don't care what category it is, too much on the go, and it's habitual, you really have nothing. You really have nothing, okay? Really have nothing. Because you only have what you finish. The rest is just work and an obligation that you're signing up for. That's why I say one in the works and one on the go. Even if it's books that you're going to read, you may have a bookcase full of books you want to read, all right? But you're reading, most people, one at a time, and you've got the next one that you're looking forward to. And that's true of jobs too. That's true of the piles of the clothes when you separate them out. The reason on the clothing, I forgot to mention this. The reason on the clothing, all right, that is so important, or even on anything that is, it's not even just clothing. It could be a mixed bag of clutter that's built up in an area. divide it by its type, because when you're making decisions about where something goes or whether it's useful to keep, we have different mindsets for different types of things. And that's why I really, really believe in batching, right? Because if you stay in the mindset for deciding about tops, you're going to get through it a whole lot faster. And you think about tops, when you think about tops that fit or tops that you want to keep, anybody here tell me that they don't think about slacks or pants differently? Sure you do. Does it fit? Is it long? Is the zipper working? Is the whatever? Of course you're thinking about that differently, and you're thinking about sweaters differently, and you're thinking about shoes differently, and you're thinking about underwear differently, and you're thinking about scarves differently. You have a different relationship with it. Okay? So that's why I really encourage you to batch and finish one category. And another benefit you get out of separating into categories and resolving by category is when you're working on a category and then you're resolving it by finding its home space, its permanent home space in your environment, you're going to realize a whole lot sooner whether you're asking too much of that space. You're going to get feedback about how full that home space is. And at some point, when you can't fit more in, that is going to register in your mind that you have to do something about that, that has become a problem. And that hopefully impacts the off switch of continuing to acquire that type of thing. So it serves two purposes. It gives you the alert, okay, we're full here. And it also hopefully stays in the back of your mind and gives you information that's important. Now, if you're putting one blouse away and one pair of pants away and the socks away and the whatever, you're never going to realize that until you get to the end. All right. So there's a feedback loop as well that can be very helpful. The dining room table and the front hall are basically the same thing, oddly enough. I'm going to tell you a prejudice I have about the front hall. Okay. The number of people who run into difficulty with a really, really cluttered, clogged front hall, it becomes a drop zone. So you're coming home from work, or you're coming home from shopping, you're coming home from somewhere, and you've got very little steam in the tank, or, the moment you get in the door, you have to run off to the washroom, whatever your stage in life. That's 0 when you come through the door, you put it down and you go. And then you know what? You start to unwind and you leave it. I'm going to ask anybody who keeps their shoes at the door not to. I have never encountered a front hall that was built to be the harbinger of our footwear. All right. Maybe your boots when you're going outside, but decide about what shoes you're going to wear when you choose whatever you're going to wear from your closet. That's when you choose your shoes. And if you don't have a lot of room for shoes, try getting one of those over the bedroom door shoe caddies. All right. And they have them with practically the whole length of the door that you can organize your shoes in and keep them in. The ones I find the most useful are the ones with the prongs that sit up that you can actually take your shoe and hang it on it, not the cubby ones that collapse and, they're whatever. The plastic breaks and then you've got a floor covered with shoes. Try that get them out of the front hall. Now, you may, when you're going out, if you're somebody who takes your shoes off when you come in, you may, I leave my sandals, I leave my indoor sandals inside the closet, but that's it. The shoes go to the bedroom. All right. So that's number one. Number two, if this happens habitually, that when you come in the door, it's a drop zone, we got to go upstream, people. We've got to back up a bit and we've got to ask ourselves, how much of your life are you on overdrive? Because when you're coming through a door and it becomes a drop zone habitually, all right, and you don't have enough steam in the tank or mental awareness, whatever that word is that I can't get right now, the predictability to go back, oh yeah, I forgot something. You just turn off. It's a spatial sense that closes off. How much of your life do you feel that you're running on empty? Anybody? How done are you when you come through that door? And what can you do about it? That's the problem that needs solving, because the condition of the front hall in those circumstances, all right, that's the byproduct of another problem. That's the byproduct. Let's solve the problem. So what would some of the resolutions of that be? Might it be, I don't know, do your shopping. Do your shopping on a day when you're not running in on your way home from work. Maybe we need to look at, if that is an issue. I see they've got 31 chats right now. If that is an issue, could everybody that's an issue with make a note of it in the chat? Because that's a bigger problem. That is a bigger problem. And the reason it's so important is that's one of your entrance and egress routes, people, in case of safety. And in case that you had, I know it sounds over dramatic, but somebody somewhere right now as we speak is having this happen to them, a medical emergency, an accident, and emergency response has to get in. They're coming in with a 32-inch wide gurney and two people who are not 10 inches wide. All right. So, and equipment. And they need full access, and you need them to have full access. Let's see if we can't solve that problem, but I want to know, how much of a problem is it? The dining room table is sort of, however exhausted you are when you drop stuff at the door and then you don't go back to it, that's sort of like a level 4, okay? The dining room table is sort of a level 2.5, bordering on 3 of the same problem. We'll just put it on the dining room table. Why would you have a dining room table if it's for that? Is that why you got that dining room table? No. What's on the dining room table? Right now, what's on the dining room table? And how much are you using the things on the dining room table? How much are you using them? Are they just things that have a home space, but the home space is further away than you want to go at any point in time, and so it gets left there? What are the projects, the unfinished projects that are on the dining table? Could people send me a list? If dining room tables are a problem, send me a list of what's on their dining room table, and I mean it. because that speaks to the kind of problem it is. We can solve this problem. There are solutions. There are things that you can do, and you are up to them. First of all, we need to know what they are, because different things speak to different mindsets and different urgencies and different ran out of steam, or I don't have another place. Is the dining room table the storage area for 10 other areas in the house where there's way too much stuff? And really, selections need to be made. Really, selections need to be made. Who's the bride and who's the bridesmaid? Okay, let's figure out what that problem is. Because that is an interesting and very, very common. And then, of all places where we would have an overload of who wants to do this job, nobody put their hand up. The kitchen. The kitchen. Now, at the risk, mind you, they are recyclable. If dishes are a problem, I'm going to ask you to do something starting tomorrow. And that is this. If dishes and pots and pans are a problem, if that's the issue, all right, get rid of all leftover food, so you're not attracting vermin or other bits. And until you get those dishes done, switch over to paper plates. Yes, you heard me. Switch over to paper plates. Don't keep adding to the problem, because the paper plate can go in the recycling, right? Because you're not going to leave a lot of food on it. You can rinse off a paper plate in the sink. You can scrape it off into the garbage. Then switch over to paper plates until you get the kitchen rebooted. Because the reason I suggest that, and recycle the paper plate, by the way, don't put it in the garbage. All right, so the reason I'm saying that is kitchens are such a high activity of daily living area. You can't get ahead of it by adding to it today. And you can't even boil an egg, all right, without an appliance and a pot and a something and a place to put it. And you get what I'm saying, all right? You need to reboot on that one. You need to reboot, all right? So reboot, accept it, reboot. Now, if your counters are covered with jars and blah, 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 today, pick one area on the counter and pick up 3 things only. 3 things. And go and put them in their home space. Either in the cupboard, on the shelf, whatever. The home is not where there is an empty space. The home is where that type of items, like type things, are housed. Okay? There shall be no stuffing. That's just adding to chaos. All right? So dining room table, you're going to send me a list of what's on your dining room table. All right? Some people are laughing their heads off. No, really, truly. You can send it in an email form. You don't have to put it in a chat. All right? But I want to know, because different types of collections are different types of issues. Let's solve the right issue. There is no one size fits all. Now, the other thing about groceries, okay, groceries coming home. When you bring groceries home and you just are so tired, take them, if there's any space on the counter, put them on the counter in the bags. All right, take the perishables, things that have to go in the freezer, put them in the freezer, and then go and sit down for half an hour with a timer. If you're not really, really good at putting them away right away, obviously that's the ideal. Give yourself a half hour, do something to stoke your fire, and then get up and put the groceries away. Take the bags, put the bags where the bags go, recycle the paper bags, whatever it is, and finish that job. All right. And then the rest of the day is yours. Okay, what else do we have here? We'll just wind up on. Mail. We're going to do paper and mail next week. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bin and I'm going to keep everything paper that has come in this house. All right. Over the next week, everything. And I'm going to sort it right in front of you. How would that be? Okay. And you can do the same thing. The only thing is, with this being tax season, you do want to keep your eye out for anything that is attached to your taxes. We don't want that sitting around getting stuck on the jam on something else to the back of and ending up in a landfill. Okay, people, this has been an interesting way to do a podcast. Let me know whether it was helpful, not helpful, what you'd like to know more, less, and we'll take it from there. Okay, take care, everyone.